Hey guys, Dr. Ben here, Functional Medicine Centers. Welcome. Excited to talk to you about your gut. Okay, not your oversized abdomen, but actually what's going on in the digestive tract. So stick with me here. We're going to go through a little bit of technical information, but then we're going to get to the signs and symptoms and what you can do about leaky gut. So welcome, Dr. Ben Galliard here, Functional Medicine Centers. We have our office in Fort Collins, Colorado, Phoenix, Arizona, and now Cheyenne, Wyoming as well. So welcome. Love having you guys on board and educating and getting information out on things that you can do to get your health better, to get your immune system working as well as feasibly possible. So welcome. All right, so the term leaky gut, this sounds kind of weird, kind of gross a little bit. People aren't quite sure what it actually means, what it does, but I'm going to talk to you today specifically about where it comes from, what causes it, and what you can do about it. Leaky gut, they've been talking about intestinal permeability, which is another term for leaky gut. They've been talking about this for over 100 years in the literature. This isn't something new. This isn't some new age concept of, just in that functional medicine world, people talk about this gut issue. This is a prevalent thing. Even in WebMD, the online medical kind of search engine there, they talk about leaky gut, but they say that it's somewhat of a murky mystery, not quite sure why it's there. Hey, good morning in Montana there, Patricia. As you guys are watching, go ahead and pop down where you're watching from. Love to see where you guys are watching in from, all over the country, all over the world. So leaky gut has been called a danger signal for autoimmune, meaning if somebody has autoimmune, basically in my world, invariably they will get autoimmune. If they don't already have it, they will get it. It's going to drive that autoimmune reaction. It's going to drive that immune system to start attacking its own tissue. So even Hippocrates, he was the father of modern medicine over a couple thousand years ago. He said that all disease begins in the gut. So even 2,000 years ago, they knew that. Good to see you, Sandy. And Kaylee there. All right, DJ in Alabama. Lupus, yeah, we're dealing with some autoimmune out there. So go ahead, pop down below the different autoimmune conditions you're dealing with. We're talking 190 named autoimmune conditions, third leading cause of death when you put them all together. Clinton, good to see you as well. It's amazing what's happening out there, and a big part of it starts in our digestive tract. So basically, the way I like to think about our digestive tract, if you spread out, took our stomach, our small intestine, our large intestine, and spread it out, the surface area would cover that of an entire tennis court. There's tons of surface area, tons of place for our body to absorb and bring food into the body. But it's also a barrier system, so it's designed to do two things. It's designed to bring things in to the bloodstream, but then also keep things out. So think about it this way. The skin is a barrier system, but so is the digestive tract. The digestive tract is a barrier system as well. And so let me know that this makes sense to you guys, because this is a really, really important part of the process. And that the gut, even though it's inside of our body, it's still the outside of the body. So think about that. Even though you eat something, it goes inside of us, it's still not inside of us, it's still outside. It's in that tube, and it's being kept out of the bloodstream unless it wants something to come in, like a food or something like that. So what is going on? Well, what happens is that if this barrier system gets broken, then we get things into the bloodstream. Just like if your skin gets damaged, I always use this example. If you're we live by Rocky Mountain National Park, and there's a lot of pit toilets in there. If you're going to the bathroom and checking your phone while you're at the pit toilet, and you drop your phone into the toilet, or like women do, they've got it in their back pocket and they pull down their pants and the phone drops into the pit toilet. If you've got open sores on your arms and you stick your arm down and have to pull that out, you will get yucky stuff into into the bloodstream. Same thing, I know that's kind of graphic, same thing happens in the intestinal lining. So when I was a kid, they had these balloons, and give me a thumbs up if you guys remember these, but the balloon, you would squeeze it like this, and it'd go bloop, bloop, and it'd continue the inside out, and you could just kind of do this, and it would just keep rolling in and out, in and out, in and out. So if you guys remember that, that's basically what is going on inside of us. So even as you do this squeeze, that inside would still be the outside and still be the outside. Just like if I went and I squeezed you real hard, kind of again another graphic thought, but if I squeezed you and your insides came out and then your outsides went in, it would be the same thought process. So the inside, our barrier tract, is still outside of the body. Okay, so I think I've made that point there. And we have something else called these tight junctions along that digestive tract. And tight junctions are going to be part of that barrier system. They're going to keep things out from getting into the bloodstream. They will open up when, let's say, some certain type of food, we want to get that food into the bloodstream, but if it's a pathogen, like some type of a bacteria, parasite, anything like that, you want to keep that out. And so that barrier system is supposed to be there. Those tight junctions are supposed to be there, but then when it opens up, it allows it to get into that bloodstream. There are certain things that are going to cause those tight junctions to open and to become agitated. Then they open and close all the time. And yet, if they're opening at the wrong time, then we get the bad things into the bloodstream. So certain things are going to do that. There was a research done. If they try to induce leaky gut in people to see what goes across that blood-brain barrier, things like that, across that digestive tract barrier, they will actually, and I imagine it's a bunch of college kids, they will have them overexert, over-exercise. Paula, good to see you there up in Wyoming. They will have them do like 30, 40 minutes of really intense exercise, and those tight junctions open for like 4 or 5 hours afterwards. So if you're one of the people that loves to go out and just push themselves on the spin bike, or run really hard for an hour, things like that, you need to do things to counterbalance that, because that is actually opening up and causing some leaky gut. So long, intense exercise can do that. We haven't seen it with the shorter 5, 7, 10-minute exercises, but the longer ones can definitely do that. So we also know that alcohol can do that. Alcohol consumption can open up that leaky gut and open up those tight junctions for anywhere from 4 to 12 hours on that. Excess sugar, a lot of damaging negative things to the digestive tract can open up that lining, and it's going to allow things into the bloodstream. So what this does then is this allows the body to create, when the bad stuff gets into that digestive tract, we get this exaggerated response. So we've talked about the cytokine storm that happens with COVID, right? Where this immune system really gets revved up and starts attacking, and that's why people get damage in their lungs and things like that. So we can get this cytokine storm that happens from leaky gut. We can get immunoglobulins, which is part of what happens with allergies and some of the things that they test when they're looking to see if somebody has food allergies. They're looking for those immunoglobulins, but it can also stimulate antimicrobial. So if you get that pathogen coming into the bloodstream, then you're going to want to attack it. Well, if you get a lot of that coming in, then that immune system gets revved up and revved up and revved up and revved up. Carol, good to see you down there in Westminster. So the normal function of the immune system can get over-exaggerated. It can go through the roof with this. Just like if somebody gets COVID and they already are predisposed for this immune inflammatory cascade, and then it goes cytokine storm. Hey, Adriana, good to see you. Yep, awesome. We'll see you in January. We have a lot of patients come down from Wyoming, so we look forward to helping you. So what we know is that people already on the verge from leaky gut can have a lot of things happen. They can have this COVID inflammation process. They can get autoimmune because their body gets overreacted. So basically, this immune system gets overexcited. It goes into overdrive and it does way too much work for what actually is coming into the bloodstream. Isn't that damaging? But if it's over and over and over, then that immune system is eventually going to attack its own tissue and go haywire. And that can lead to, again, any one of those 190 named autoimmune conditions. Which one? I don't know. It all depends on the person, and we'll see MS and lupus and rheumatoid arthritis and alopecia, which is where your hair's falling out, and Hashimoto's and all these different diseases. So you've got to take perfect care of your gut. So what are some of the things that are going to cause that damage to that intestinal lining, and not just the tight junctions to open, but actual damage? I've got this great slide here. Let me see if it can show up here. This was from a patient. So if you look here, you can see these red, dark, kind of gnarly spots. She had an upper scope done before coming in a couple years ago. The doctor went down with the scope, looked through her small intestine lining, and you could see all of these irritated areas. This was in January. She had this done, and then they went back in August and did it again, and they couldn't find a single area in that digestive tract. I'll put a picture of this up on the in the comment section. And so this was the first time somebody had done a pre and post upper GI, and it was pretty cool to be able to see the difference once we went through and healed up that gut lining. But what are the things that can cause that damage, cause that irritation to that intestinal lining? Well, antibiotics is a huge one. Probably 10 years ago, I had 2 tick bites with lime rings around them. Guess what I did? I went on antibiotics. 3 months I went on antibiotics. What'd that do to my gut? It tore me up. I'll probably never be the same, and yet I would rather have done that than go through full-blown Lyme disease infection. So antibiotics can do it. Food allergies, if somebody's chronically eating foods that they have an issue with already, that can cause damage. We know celiac disease damages that gut lining, just like that picture in there. We know that pesticides, they're going to kill off good bacteria in the food and when they're spraying onto the crops. That can happen in our digestive tract as well. That can throw off our microbiome. Tap water, chlorine and fluoride, both can do that. You've got chlorine into the pool. It's an antimicrobial. NSAID, so ibuprofen, Tylenol, those type of things, as well as aspirin, all can irritate that gut lining. So if you're taking those, absolutely cut down to the minimum that you need to keep things going in there. That dysbiosis, again, good bacteria, bad bacteria, yeast, all these different things. When they get out of balance, it's going to cause a lot of issues going through that digestive tract, and it's going to cause some damage as well. Chronic stress is going to do this. Give me a thumbs up if anybody out there is dealing with any stress. We all have stressors, but it's how we deal with those stressors. But chronic stress, if somebody is under chronic stress, their cortisol, which is their main adrenal hormone, is going to be overactive, and that's going to not allow the digestive tract to heal. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Whoa, a lot of thumbs up out there. So I guess we do have some stress out there. A lot of people are eating many grains, GMOs, food additives, dairy, a lot of different foods that are going to irritate that gut lining. So the standard American diet is going to contribute to leaky gut here. So what are some signs and symptoms that you have leaky gut? Some signs and symptoms would be food sensitivity. So if you're dealing with, oh my gosh, anytime I eat beans, or anytime I eat gluten, or anytime I eat corn or soy, or I don't know what it is, but I eat something and just feel yucky, that is a very good indication that you have some leaky gut going on. Inflammatory bowel conditions like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or IBS, anything where it's just chronic diarrhea, or it might fluctuate. We have some patients go from diarrhea to constipation and back and forth. Definitely part of that problem. autoimmune conditions. If you have an autoimmune condition or have been diagnosed with autoimmune condition, 99% of the time you have some type of leaky gut. When a patient comes in with autoimmune, we've got to address their gut. Thyroid issues. If you have a thyroid issue, if you've been diagnosed with a thyroid issue, at least 80% of the time, that is going to be, hey, Paula, there you got colitis. Yep, and that's autoimmune as well. 80% of the time, that's going to be Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition, and we know what happens from there. Anybody that's dealing with malabsorption, a lot of times little kids come in under 10 and they're like in the 1 to 10 percentile on height and weight. We heal up their digestive tract, heal up their leaky gut, and boom, they jump up to 50, 60 percentile, even a matter of 3 months. So if you're not absorbing your nutrients like you need to, this is a huge sign of it as well. Skin issues. So we always say if somebody's got acne, breaking out skin issues, it's either gut or it's hormones. I've shown some pictures of people with really bad cracking skin, with inflammation on the arms, psoriasis, all types of different things, eczema. Those all have a leaky gut component to them. You have to heal up your digestive tract. And then we get into the brain side. So if somebody's got anxiety, depression, mood stuff, as well as any autism or ADD, you've got to deal with that digestive tract lining. You've got to get it balanced out to where that brain, there's even in the literature, there's thousands of articles talking about the gut-brain connection, and you've got to get that gut figured out. If you have any brain issues, you've got to fix your gut. If your kids have brain issues, you've got to fix their gut. So what do we do? What do we do to help this? Well, we go by what it's been talked about for over 20 years. We call it the 4 R's. And the 4 R's, write this down, you're going to replace certain things. So the first R is replace. So you want to bring in different enzymes, bring in different stomach acid, different things that are not being produced like they should be. And how do we do that? Well, sometimes it's not being produced because somebody's in a chronic fight or flight. You can't produce stomach acid when you're in a fight or flight. And so you've got to be able to get that stomach acid where it needs to be, calm the brain down, but get the enzymes and stomach acid up. You want to remove certain things. So if you have food allergies right now, if you have foods that are stimulating inflammation, if you're adding in any of the toxins, any of the things that we talked about that are damaging that gut lining, you've got to remove those and get those out of the diet short term. You've got to re-inoculate. So after you remove the pathogens, the bad bacteria, yeast, any of those things, you've got to bring in and re-inoculate. Re-inoculate means you're going to bring in the good bacteria. So a lot of people just take probiotics all the time, but they're never getting rid of the bad stuff. They're never knocking that down. So they add a little bit of good, add a little bit of good, but never really get down the bad. So you've got to kill it off, build it back up, kill it off, build it back up, and reprogram that microbiome in there. And then we've got to repair. There's certain nutrients that are good at this: glutamine, marshmallow root, aloe vera, a lot of different things that help heal up that gut lining, but you've got to take it step by step and through this systematic approach. So it takes time, it takes energy, and what we always say though is if somebody's had bad leaky gut, there's a very good chance they'll be always having to think about this at some level, whether that's quarterly doing a cleanse, doing a annual detox, working on their probiotics off and on. You know, most people, if they've had leaky gut, it's not a one and done and now I'm fixed. You're going to need to always be addressing, always be aware of what's going on in that digestive tract. So don't lose hope though. It is possible. This is how people reverse their autoimmune all the time, whether that's their rheumatoid arthritis numbers go away, their lupus numbers go away, their MS goes away, they're plaquing on their MRI, they get off all their medications, all of these things. The gut is an integral part in doing that. So it takes time, it takes energy. If you need help through that process, that's what we're here for. We've got tons of other videos. Our Phoenix and our Fort Collins location can help people all over the country. So ask questions. We love answering those down below. Let us know what you're dealing with, and we'll give you some ideas on which way to go. So hope this helps. If you've got anything specific that you need to address and you don't feel comfortable putting in the comments, direct message us through the Facebook app as well, and we would love to talk to you guys. So stay strong out there. Focus on getting that gut as healthy as possible, and it's going to help your immune system function at that optimal level. Be well, everybody.